shoot on film?
Oh no, it's faster to shoot on film. Oh yeah, no, it's much faster to shoot on film. Last season, I got asked to go to a meeting with the Fox executives about Glee and American Horror Story, and they clearly wanted to make the shows digital. And I argued successfully last year on behalf of Glee that with those production numbers, you want to have cameras that you can just put on a film magazine, go and shoot without tethering, without having to balance stuff through a DIT tent and all that. American Horror Story was far less of an argument. I told them that shooting film was an integral part of my aesthetic approach to the show. Even I, at that point, did not know what I meant by that because I had not started shooting that season, and last year was a really whacked out season visually. But over the course of the season, I sort of proved it by the way we shot film. And so this year, that discussion didn't even come up. They kind of naturally assumed, okay, American Horror Story is a film show. And the thing is that today, everybody wants to jump on whatever the new bandwagon is and use whatever the new tools are, or faster, cheaper, better, whatever the catchphrases are. But the reality is that you have to choose the right tool for the right job. And people always talk about the different visual styles on American Horror Story. I actually got called by the Entertainment Technology Council or something to speak at a university about the workflow of American Horror Story and how we create all of those looks. And I said to them on the phone, I said, well, you know that I shoot film on the show, right? And they said, oh, well, never mind. Because they thought all of it was done in post. And it's not. I mean, all those looks, the black and white, the grainy black and white, the super saturated high contrast color, the softer look, desaturated pastel looks, we do them all in camera at the time we shoot it. And I do it in conjunction with Kodak and with the lab with PhotoChem. And so those looks are already there. So in post-production, when they're timing the show, they don't have to try to invent the look. It's already there. Ryan had said that he wanted it to be like as powerful as the Geraldo Rivera documentary that he saw about a mental institution from the 1970s. And that's pretty much all he said. So I went online to research what that was, and all I could find online was a really bad transfer on YouTube of this documentary. It was done in 16 millimeter in the 1970s, and it was really horrifying. But what I realized is that there's no good element that exists of that documentary, and what Ryan probably saw was a really crappy multi-generational copy of this documentary. So what we did was we shot this on 16 millimeter. I force processed it 2 stops. It still looked too good. The film is just, 16 millimeters is just too good to these days. You can't get grain and just distress out of it. And then I told post-production to take all the 16 millimeter footage and transfer it to 3/4 inch U-matic videotape, which nobody uses anymore. It was an industrial video format. Because my reasoning was that what Ryan saw was a multi-generational copy that was copied over from different formats of tape, and that added to the feel and the look of what he was experiencing. So they said, well, post-production said, well, we need to do a test first, because that's pretty extreme. So they did a test, and they called me up, and they said, we think it's going too far. We don't think you're going to want to go that far. And I said, show it to me. And I looked at the test, and I said, this is perfect. It's perfect. It's all washed out. It looks ghastly. There's no blacks. It emphasized grain and stuff. I said, it's perfect. And they said, well, we need to show this to Ryan before we go doing the entire sequences like this, because it's like 1/4 of the episode. And Ryan saw it, and he says, I love it. It's perfect. That shot says all what American Horror Story is all about. I mean, this is a scene that's a procedural scene with detectives interviewing Lana. And Alfonso was like, how can we make this interesting? I mean, we can just shoot it. We can just shoot the two detectives and then shoot Sarah and then do a close-up of the photos on the table and then we'll be done. And then he said, what if we come from behind the chair on a tilted angle like this, just to give the feeling that she's unsettled. Again, trying to plug into the character's head, that she's unsettled about being questioned about her son, who's maybe a murderer. And I said, well, okay, what if we do that, but then what if we just keep going? What if we just keep going upside down, and then we see the photos of her son underneath the glass table, you know, looking up that way? He says, I love it, let's do that. You know, and then the team has to plug into it. Then you need the camera operator who can actually do it, and you know, the focus puller and everybody else, and we have to be able to light the photos so that you can see them through the glass table and stuff. But it's that approach of not wanting to do the easy conventional thing, I think, that helps separate American Horror Story. And in general, you know, John and I always talk about not going with our first idea for a scene. You know, whatever we come up with as the first idea for lighting or shooting a scene is inevitably going to be the most boring or conventional way to approach it. You know, in anything you do, you thought of it right away because you probably did it before and been successful at it, which is why you want to do it again. I mean, it's a natural human impulse to want to do that. But if you throw away that first idea and try to reach for the second idea, it's going to come from a deeper part of your brain. It's inherently going to be more interesting to watch because it's not the first thing you thought of. It's not the conventional way to approach it. And that's what we try to do all the time is just throw out the first ideas and go with the second idea, which is why also a lot of times we'll plan, and I'll walk with the directors with John to the next set, and we'll discuss what we're going to do before we see rehearsal, and John will start roughing it in, and then we'll see the rehearsal with the actors, and I'll feel differently. I'll feel like, okay, like this, and John is fond of saying that he sets up a whole bunch of lights so I can just shut them all off. And that happens a lot. I mean, I will go over there, I said, can we turn that off? Can we turn that off? Can we turn that off? Until we're left with just, you know, a small number of lights that feels right. But that's all based on the rehearsal with the actors and how I felt about that rehearsal and how it changed my perception of what the scene is.